This is Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by British light heavyweight champion Craig Richards. 7 weeks removed now, I think, from a world title challenge to Dmitry Bivol. How are you feeling, and how many times have you watched it back?
I watched it back at maybe about 8 times.
Wow, okay. So that's more than once a week.
No, do you know what? I didn't watch it for a couple of weeks. And then I watched it back once. Then I watched it again. Then someone had an opinion on it of what they thought, so they made me watch it with them. Then a couple of times I went places, they was watching it, so I was kind of just watching it. So yeah, probably about 5 times.
Did you learn anything new that you hadn't kind of gleaned in the ring when you watched it back?
In terms of like my abilities, or
well, no, just in terms of either your performance or Bivol's performance or what occurred. So was there anything you didn't notice on the night when you were in there that when you watched it back later on became apparent to you?
Oh yeah, like a lot of things really. Not as in terms of learn, but when you're in there, it's hard. You can't score it really. You just kind of like at a guess and kind of listening to what other people are saying at ringside and around. So you're kind of basing your opinion based off what you're being told around, because you're not going to be scoring at the same time. You kind of know like some of the rounds are close, but it was like when I watched it back, like it's roughly around what I kind of felt. It was close in the early parts of the fight. So it was nick and tuck rounds. Quite a lot of rounds, quite level earlier on. But obviously being the champion, I see like looking back now, some of the rounds I thought I could have nicked. Being the champion, you're not going to get the rounds. Some of the rounds that I didn't do enough in. And then obviously the back end of the fight, I finished very strong. But as I was getting towards the 9th round, I was hearing it's like around about in the balance-ish. So I thought, oh, do you know what? That in my head before that, I thought I was doing better than I was. Then I got told it was like in the balance a bit. So now I wasn't really turning it up, going for the gears yet. I thought I was just cruising it. And then when I heard that, I kind of like said, oh, like near the balance, I better win these rounds. So that's why 10, 11, and 12, I picked it up. And it was annoying because when I picked it up, even the last 3 rounds, I still like didn't really even empty half the tank. And I was like, I finished a 12-round fight. You've not got the decision. You shouldn't be going back to the changing room with so much energy, which means I should have probably even picked up and gone through the gears a bit earlier. But saying that also, you know, when a man's fresh and sharp, it's a bit dangerous to commit and take a bit more risk. So there was swings and roundabouts in the opinions, like, should I have gambled it? Shouldn't I? Maybe I could have pulled it a little bit earlier. It's boxing, isn't it? You think all this stuff once it's over, because it's like a computer game.
Overall, obviously, you would have been delighted to win the title, but that aside, did it go about as well as you could have wanted? You put in a great account of yourself. It's close on the cards. You've still got the British title. You can make another run at the world level.
Yeah.
More positives and negatives.
In terms of not being myself, and if I was like a boxing fan watching the fight as Craig Spider Richards and that's Bivol was watching him from the UK, I'd be like, oh, he done quite well. He made a good account of himself, come up a round short or a half a round short on 2 of the scorecards. Like he's at world level. He's proved he's world class. He's still British champion. That's great. But for the fighter as ambitious as I am, for me, no. Everyone said, oh, it was a good result. It's not. Unless I've gone in there to win a title and I didn't win the title, it's not a good moment for myself, because I put myself in the position where I don't believe that I'm a fighter who just wants to prove I'm at that level. I want to dominate eventually, dominate the whole light heavyweight scene. And as everyone said to me that, oh, look, UK fighters, you lot are all good, but you lot could never get in with Bivol or Baterviev, them two, you lot need to swerve and all this and that. I wanted to kind of prove that wasn't true, that we can compete and beat these guys. And I did prove we could compete with them, but I obviously didn't prove that we could beat them because I was still a round off or whatever.
But now you have proved you belong at that level. Are you keen to stay there? I mean, you've still got the British title, and there'll be people calling you out because they'll have seen what happened against Bivol. They'll see you as a name they can use to build themselves. But are you keen to stay at or around world level?
I would like to stay at world level. That's what I would like to do. I think like even we spoke after the fight when I spoke to Eddie, and that Eddie was like, look, you've proven you're world class. You've proven you're at that level. There wasn't much in the fight. You know, there was no class indifference. They weren't like, oh, he looked out of place. Like you showed that's your level. But obviously I've still got the British title. I've proved I'm a world class fighter. I think I would like to stay at world level, but of course I have to stick with the team and see what they want to do, because obviously I don't make my solely own decisions, but I would like to stay at world level, definitely.
I mean, is there a concern on your part if you were to stay at British level, emotionally, mentally, it'd feel like a bit of a come down from what you've just experienced?
Yeah, because I remember I spoke to you before even about, I think it was like a year or two ago, and we spoke even about before I fought Shakan, even before the fight was announced, etc. And I think we spoke about being even fighting for the British. And I was saying to you that I'd had so much domestic fights, even having this next domestic fight with Shakan, it still doesn't excite me. But at the same time, I haven't ticked off the British yet. So I'd like to tick it off. But if there was opportunities above, I would have took them. I thought about it, beating so much good domestic guys, it would have been a shame for me not to have crowned myself as British champion. So which I've done that now. And I feel like if I beat whoever I beat domestically who hasn't moved on from the domestic scene now, isn't going to be as good as Shakan on paper coming up. So I'm expected to beat everyone else coming up now, which is never a good thing, because that's how you can get complacent. I think that I need fights where I like to be the guy where people go, he ain't going to beat him. I like to prove people, I like to get up for the fight and go and challenge myself. And if I don't find it's challenging on paper, you don't really want to do a hard 12-week camp for someone you know you could beat.
So if you had to think about what your route back to a world title shot, another world title shot would be, or who you'd like to go through, or belts you'd like to win on the way?
We've had little discussions in like at the gym, me and Pete, etc. We've got a meeting with Eddie at some point, I think this week. So we'll probably get a bit more clarity when we obviously sit down with Eddie, Pete, because obviously there's more than just me who makes the decisions, or just more than Pete. Obviously the final decision's always with Pete, he's my manager. But obviously on the platform, my promoter being Eddie, he obviously has a say and visions of what he wants to do as well. So we'll kind of sit down and we'll touch base of the options and what the best route is. But for me, it's all about, I can't go through my career now without winning a world title. So solely to me, that's always how I can get that, is what I want to know.
It seems like that's what all British light heavyweights want at the moment. You've had obviously one shot already. Anthony Yarde's had one shot already. You've got Lyndon Arthur jockeying for position. Joshua Buatsi, Callum Johnson, who again has had one world title shot. Does that make it more motivating that kind of you're all aiming for the same goal, or is it a bit frustrating because it might mean you have to wait longer?
No, I don't find it frustrating, because I feel like if you look at the five you've mentioned, we've all had completely different careers. You know, we've all gone around our things completely different in terms of fight-wise, everything really. So I feel like it doesn't really affect each other, because we've all done things completely different. I think it is more interesting that we've got like so many good light heavyweights looking to win the world title, because if one of us or two of us or whoever wins world titles, it just makes bigger domestic clashes at world level for bigger fights and bigger interest really. So it is good if we get more Brits at world level. Do you know what I'm saying? Because for me, I'm kind of done with the domestic scenes in terms of being a British, English, all of that sort of level. It's like the next time I want to see anyone from here would be at the world. You know what I'm saying? At the world scene. So if others make it, then it will be a good mix.
Just say theoretically, you're the next of the five to win a world title, or well, the first of the five to win a world title. Who'll be second? Who'll be the next one out of those four?
Hard to tell, because do you know what it is with these guys? All of them are complete stylistically different fighters, and they're all like ranked in different governing bodies. So there's different opportunities. So with boxing, sometimes might not be like, oh, he could be the best, so he's next. It could be like he seized an opportunity, you've got the route to have the shot and had a good night that night. So it's really hard to really say like, oh, I reckon he's gonna map it first and then win. Do you know what I'm saying? It's boxing. It's a little bit more complicated than the eye. I know the olden days it was just kind of like you work your way up, the best guy fights for it, and then you win or lose. Do you know? But it's not like that now. There's a lot of politics involved.
Do you think it'd be a shame? I know this is something most boxing fans would say, if none of you ever fought each other. I know Yarde and Arthur have obviously fought, but no one else has crossed over to fight one of the other four yet.
I think that it's inevitable to happen. I don't think that unless like someone gets beat really bad and has to retire, I think all of us are quite ambitious, and I believe that. I'm not saying all 5 of us are going to win a world title. It's not likely. Well, it could, but I just believe there'll be a few who slip through the net and get to that level, and the ones who make it at some point. Whereas a business, I feel like promoters will push big money fights and it will happen. But yeah, it would be a shame if no one ever mixed, but I think they will.
I wanted to ask you as well, you said about you fought Shakan and obviously you went on to fight Bivol. Was the difference in levels between British and world smaller than you expected it to be?
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. Like, obviously, people know I can punch at the domestic level. I can punch anyway, but it was like, well, we know he can punch, but he's only knocked out domestic fighters. So they're like, will you carry your punch power at world level? That was one question mark. I don't know. I believe I can, but you don't know until you're there.
Sure.
They also say, you've got a good chin, but have you been hit by a world champion, a world-class fighter? How good's your chin when you get hit? I believe my chin's solid. I've boxed, sparred, heavyweights, cruiserweights. There's no stories. But yet again, it's a question mark. So once I was in there and I got hit, I was like, I didn't feel that. I'm okay. I hit him. I saw in the 5th, his leg buckled. And I realized a bit late, I tried to jump on, but the moment had gone. Pete said, relax, it'll come again. And I realized at that point, right, I've got world-class power because I hurt the world champion. I got world-class chin because I've not been hurt. When we got down the stretch, people say like, oh, you train hard, you train like a world champion. Similarly, like a world champion. So that means world champions must train hard and they're fit. So you want to know how good their conditioning is. As you saw in the fight, 10, 11, and 12, I was the one who finished stronger. So it showed that I have got world-class fitness. So all the question marks I had, or the 3 question marks, was tick, tick, tick for me. So moving forward in my career, it was answers. There was questions that I got answers for. It was kind of like the first time I stepped to British level. Although I took it on 5 days' notice, I'd never done a 12-rounder. I didn't have a training camp. How can I do 12 rounds, especially untrained? As soon as I'd done the 12 rounds without a training camp, at the weight below, without a camp, and I'd done the 12 rounds, it ticked a box in my head. Right, you can do 12 rounds without even having a training camp. So when I went to fight everyone else domestically, you saw how my fitness always pressed on. I was sure of myself. This has happened at world level now. Now when I sit in with these guys, I'm assured of myself. I've ticked these boxes. The unknown's known now. So yeah, I think it answered a lot of questions that I wanted to know, the difference between domestic and world.
There's something I should ask, although you may not be dwelling much longer at domestic level anyway. There is a final eliminator for the British light heavyweight title later this week between Liam Conroy and Hosea Burton. Just wanted to get your take on that fight, regardless of whether you're going to defend against the winner anyway.
I've watched them both previously in separate bouts, obviously. They're both decent fighters, complete different styles. It'll be interesting. I think I watched Liam Conroy fight Stephen Yarde, and I feel like it could be quite similar to that fight, maybe. I'm not sure. I'd have to watch
a terrific fight, so.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I know Jose Burton likes to stay back, doesn't like to engage, he likes to box. Liam Conroy likes to have a tear up at times and not have a tear up. So it kind of depends on who has their way in the fight and who's got what left in them, really. They both come off of quite big defeats. I think, Jose Burton had a few counts in his. I think Liam Conroy got stopped in his. So it's kind of like, let's see how they bounce back off their defeats.
And those defeats were both, of course, in the Golden Contract tournament. The winner of that, Richard Bolotniks, is going to be fighting Joshua Buatsi at Fight Camp. What do you make of that fight? Apparently, it's going to be the last Buatsi fight before a world title shot if he comes through
it. Very interesting fight. Very interesting fight. You know, it's good. It's good because we know about Richard Bolotniks because we've seen him in the tournament. So we know he's a decent light heavyweight. We know about Buatsi from, coming through from the GB and coming through. We know he's got potential. So it's finally like you'll get to see him, what Buatsi's made of, and you'll see what Bolotniks is made of. It's a good fight. and it's an interesting watch. I'm looking forward to it. It's a stylistic fight that I think it will have to be a good fight.
You at all disappointed that fight camp came just a little bit too early for you to come back on?
A little bit. I was hoping to be out maybe summer, but I did have a little niggle before the fight that I had to rest anyway. So everything for me happens for a reason. So I kind of, as I said this week, get a bit of a gauge of what's next for me and when I'm looking to be out anyway.
Great stuff. Well, really appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you back out. And yeah, putting into practice all the things you've picked up at world level.
Yeah, I'm eager to get back out, to be honest, just to go out and try some stuff. I'll be working on the gym and stuff. I'm just looking forward to it, really. Boxing is one of them games you just love to learn and go out and execute what you've been practicing. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Great stuff. Cheers, Craig. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Speak to you soon. Let's go.